Hey, Foydemy J here. Welcome to the channel. I hope you're all doing good today. In today's video, we've got an interesting one coming up. I am sure that you've all seen Gertrude Braithwaite by now, but I'll show you the location here on the map. It's just outside the Braithwaite Manor here. Very mysterious character in the game, but you wouldn't think that this is based on something that has happened in real life. Obviously not as extreme as this, but I'm sure you're all familiar with the Kennedy family. So the Kennedy family back in those days actually had a daughter called Rosemary, and Rosemary was born with some disabilities and learning difficulties, and the Kennedy family hid her away from society because they didn't want her to bring down their family image. It got to a stage where they didn't want that anymore, especially her father John. So he actually arranged a lobotomy that went horribly wrong, of course, and he covered it up, but it all came out in the end. He actually forced Rosemary to have the lobotomy, didn't tell the rest of the family either, but I'll get more into that story. It's going to be a crazy one, so stick around for it, hit the like button and subscribe. Let's get into it. Sorry, I actually misspoke there. Her parents are Joseph and Rose Kennedy, so I'll be talking about them in the video. I'll also be showing some clips of a YouTube video, and I'll be pointing out the parts that I think relate back to Red Dead and why this actually is an Easter egg to Rosemary Kennedy. So let's get into it now after I've said all that. So now we can get the video started.
Oh, you came. You came.
Much love to Red Dead Clips for this video here. Massive shout out to him. Go check out his channel. So we're going to be looking at what happens when you bring Penelope Braithwaite to Gertrude Braithwaite. Check this out. When you think about it, the whole Braithwaite family could be an Easter egg to the Kennedy family. They are a family who are in power, just like the Kennedys, rich, hungry. They're greedy as well, but they're also influential on the settlements in Red Dead, just like the Kennedys are as well. Obviously there's good and bad points about the Kennedys. There's a lot of shady stuff, there's a lot of good stuff. So yeah, my opinion on them is they're a very interesting family, and I've always been interested in the history of it, so it's cool that it can be related back to a game.
Of course.
Who are you?
Leave her.
9, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1.
That's my poor cousin. There's no helping her. Believe me, I've tried.
There, boy. I knew how you Braithwaites treated enemies. Now I know how you treat Ken, too.
It's a great shame on a family that's shamed already. I told myself she was better off here with family than in a sanatorium, but maybe she isn't. I'll do what I can from Boston for her.
Sure you will. God damn. Okay, you still got a train to catch.
Get me away from all this.
As I said, you can relate the two families because the Braithwaites went through a lot of tragic things, like this whole house getting burnt down. I wonder who did that. And yeah, obviously death as well, a lot of tragedy, which has happened to the Kennedy family as well. So it seems to be these big, influential, powerful families end up in bad, tricky situations because a lot of people obviously will come after them and all for being rich. But I'm going to be taking a look at a video by Well I Never. They have a really good video on this Rosemary Kennedy story, so I'm going to be taking clips of that, showing it in the video. Massive shout out to them. I'll be linking the video down below. All links will be down below for anything I've used in this video. Big massive thanks to them, and definitely check it out. You will really not regret it.
Today, we'll look at one member of the Kennedy family whose story may be less known, but which is no less tragic. In today's episode of Well I Never, the story of Rosemary, a bright and vibrant young woman who was hidden away after an operation went tragically wrong. The Kennedys were residing in the city of Brookline in Massachusetts, which was experiencing a surge in patients diagnosed with the deadly influenza. Because of this, Rose's doctor was unavailable when she initially went into labour, which resulted in her attempting to delay the birth of her first daughter. She had received this advice from the presiding nurse, and it was a course of action that would have tragic consequences. According to the book, The House of Kennedy, quote, "The nurse orders Rose to squeeze her legs tightly together to delay the birth and goes so far as to push the baby's partially exposed head back into the birth canal for 2 excruciating hours, depriving the baby's fragile system of oxygen until Dr. Good arrives. When the doctor finally arrives, he delivers a baby girl and pronounces her healthy." The Kennedys initially believed Dr. Good's announcement, but as little Rosemary grew, signs that she was different became harder to ignore. She was reportedly slower to crawl, slower to walk, and slower to speak than her 2 older brothers, Joe Jr. and John. Her younger siblings continued to develop at a much faster rate compared to Rosemary, which further cemented her family's belief that there was something wrong with the eldest Kennedy girl. To understand what their daughter was going through, her parents approached several specialists who informed them that Rosemary's condition was a result of the oxygen deprivation she suffered at birth. This diagnosis spurred the Kennedys to hide all signs of Rosemary's disability. The eugenics movement was popular amongst the elites of the time, wherein they believed certain peoples and social groups they deemed undesirable were born with a bad gene and should not be allowed to reproduce. The Catholic Church was also a big part of their life, and at the time they denied disabled people communion and confirmation. A hangover from bygone times where they believed those with mental disabilities or learning difficulties were actually possessed by demons. Fearing rejection from their social circle, Rosemary was packed off to various boarding schools, making it easier to keep her condition secret. Worried about Rosemary's safety and the possibility of her disorder becoming public knowledge, Joe Sr. arranged for her to undergo a prefrontal lobotomy, which was a recently developed surgical operation that promised to revolutionize the way people with mental disabilities were treated. The controversial operation involved severing connections in the brain's prefrontal cortex, either by drilling into the skull and using a sharp tool, or cutting out the middleman and entering the skull via the nose or eye socket. Despite the healthcare industry's misgivings about the procedure, Joe Sr. gave doctors the green light to perform the surgery on his eldest daughter. He also chose not to consult his wife or anyone else in the family beforehand. To this day, some continue to allege that Rosemary herself wasn't told about the controversial procedure she would be undergoing either. Strapped to an operating table and with her head shaved, Rosemary was awake for the entire surgery. During the procedure, she was asked to sing songs and recite prayers as the doctors probed around inside her head. They stopped the minute Rosemary went quiet, immediately knowing something had gone drastically wrong. Later, it was said the procedure had been so traumatizing for all those involved that the attending nurse quit her job and left the medical profession. The lobotomy transformed 23-year-old Rosemary Kennedy from a vibrant and beautiful girl with a manageable behavioral problem into one with the mental state of a 2-year-old, unable to walk or speak. Her horrified father sent her to a psychiatric hospital located in upstate New York, which confused the rest of her siblings, who were still unaware of the operation. After managing Rosemary's condition for so long, why was she being institutionalized now? Eunice Kennedy, the sibling whom Rosemary was closest to, would later claim that she had no idea where her older sister was for over a decade. To keep up appearances, their parents publicly stated that their eldest daughter was away studying to become either a teacher or a social worker. Joe Sr. initially maintained the facade that Rosemary was doing well, but never once mentioned the lobotomy that he had forced her to take. With his son starting out on his road to the White House, Joe Sr. began to worry that the truth of Rosemary's situation may get out and derail his son's ambitions. So he had her moved to another institution in Wisconsin, far from her friends and family. Joe Sr. would continue to feed his family excuses to discourage them from visiting their sister, and he was also content never to see his daughter again. It would take at least 2 decades before Rosemary Kennedy saw the rest of her family again.
Okay, so I'm sure that you see similarities between Rosemary and Gertrude there. It is extreme in ways. Obviously, they didn't lock her in an outhouse and chain it, but they did, honestly, just as worse. It was more the dad than it was the whole family. Just definitely check out that video because he puts it together so much better than I would. So definitely check it out. It is a really good watch. But I'm sure you get the idea where I'm coming from. I know it isn't exactly the same, but I feel like that Rockstar were inspired by this story, and that's why they put this Easter egg in the game. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Definitely tell me what you think. Comment down below. Thank you for checking out the video. It means a lot. Thanks everyone who subscribed, everyone who likes the video. I really do appreciate it. And I know my upload schedule and streams have been non-existent at the minute, but I'm trying to get back into routine. And thank you all for being patient. Take care everyone. Peace out, and I'll see y'all in the void.